Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're doing my top 10 favorite Murim Manhwa. Starting off at number 10, we have Return of the Crazy Demon, which is something I've mentioned on this channel before, but Return of the Crazy Demon is something a little bit special when it comes to manhwa, and it's a character that you truly don't know what he's going to do next. Yes, the story's fairly predictable. Fight the next big bad, if you will, the next person you want to challenge. But the reality is you never quite know, with a sense of tension in the air, when the protagonist might just snap and kill anyone, ally, enemy, or whatnot. And they've done a great job at keeping that a little uncertain because he's a weird guy. He's just going a little nuts, and they're really trying to stick to that premise as much as possible. I will say, I got a little over it after a while, that little gimmick of him being a little mad in the head. But I will say it does give it its own vibe and something that you don't necessarily see anywhere else in manhwa right now. At number 9 is Reaper of the Drifting Moon. Reaper of the Drifting Moon just started season 2 and I could not be happier because season 1 in my mind was fantastic. Among the best manhwa of last year by far. I think top 2, top 3 minimum. This manhwa follows a protagonist kidnapped as a child, shoved into a hole to become an assassin. It seems like a very weird training mechanism, but basically a clan kidnapped a bunch of kids so that they can eventually perform this assassination mission and kind of be disposed of afterwards. Obviously, things happen, the plan changes, and the protagonist goes and gets revenge on everyone that wronged him. Now, the series is a little bit contentious because there's some people that really don't like the time jump that occurs in it and the look and design of the protagonist after that time jump. Personally, I think it's really cool. It's got its own vibe. It's really stylish. And honestly, he is cold as a protagonist. He will kill, slay anyone that crosses him, and he does so with absolute brutality, and he is phenomenal. Now, season 2 has started, which is interesting because season 1 basically solves everything we thought about, at least in season 1. So it's wondering where they're going to be going with this, and as I'm going to mention in other series on this list, sometimes things drop off when you lose the focus that you started the manhwa with. And so let's see how this one goes. But so far, number 9 without a doubt. At number 8, we have Murim Login. And I know, if you're a reader of Murim Manhwa, Murim Login's probably in your top 3. For some reason, it never quite grabbed me the same way. That doesn't mean I don't recognize how awesome it is. Follows a protagonist that gets basically shoved into a VR machine during the night, accidentally ends up in a Murim world in this VR game. There's game system elements, but honestly, what's really cool about this manhwa, one is the self-awareness of the protagonist, the interactions with other characters, the really cool systems in play, and I have to say, the story overall of this manhwa is top tier, which is even more shocking that I'm only putting it at 8, and that's just more of a personal enjoyment question. It didn't quite jam with me the right way, but that being said, I still think if you check it out, it will probably be in your top 2 or 3 manhwa in the Murim space because it is such a good one. At number 7 is Venom Dragon, The Legend of Azura. For a lot of people, this doesn't even make their top 10, and this story has been one I've been fighting to kind of share with the community for quite some time, because Venom Dragon, or Poison Dragon, depending where you read it, is a manhwa that is, honestly, the first chapters, the first lot of arcs, are hard to read. It's a character that's in a state of absolute misery. Whenever he gets close to another character, they're guaranteed to die. And that creates this sense of hopelessness in the series that after a while becomes a little difficult, and a lot of people end up dropping it fairly early on because of that. But if you power through it, there's this time skip that happens, and you begin having these relationships with characters, but that same tension exists that you don't know if they're going to be able to survive because they come in contact with the poison dragon. But then they start surviving in some cases, and this unease and uncertainty as to who's going to live and who's going to die becomes one of the big sticking points for the series that make it so different. That being said, he's gotten a lot cooler, he has more abilities, but also he's built these interesting relationships and his objectives have kind of evolved. Is he after revenge for everything bad that's happened to him? 100%. He wants that revenge, but he wants so much more now, and now that he's gotten things, you're even more scared of him losing them. And I think that's just a good story being told there. Number 6, we have Forever Infinite Leveling in Murim, my manhwa that I always try and fight for you guys to read. Infinite Leveling in Murim is a manhwa that follows a protagonist that passes away during the Great War, where he's basically a small level leader of a platoon of fighters that fight against the big bad guy. The heroes of legend of the period like either join the enemy side or end up running away or perish in battle, but no one lives up to what they were supposed to, and our protagonist basically falls in a sense of hopelessness. And he's reborn not with now the ability to be the best ever, but this philosophy of hard work, a system that allows him to gain advantages, but never is he at an advantage that is completely ridiculous in comparison to his peers. And that makes it really good, because there's nothing worse than when your power up basically makes you better than everyone of the highest generation. There's a lot of people that our main character struggles against. He's going to be facing some losses, and because of that, it's always great to see what's going to happen. That being said, his interactions, the thing he knows about the world, are what make this such a good series. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely do. If you made it this far in the video so far, please do take a moment to like, comment, and click that notification bell to be notified when my videos come out. At number 5, we have Chronicles of Heavenly Demon. Chronicles of Heavenly Demon follows a protagonist that honestly has gone through a lot. Him and his master have been slain, betrayed by the Murim Alliance and the individuals that were supposed to be on the good side of the Murim world. He's reincarnated in the clan of the Heavenly Demon, and that is basically you can see it as an evil aligned clan that people look down on or seen as the bad guys kind of thing, and he rises within this clan that he calls home. And the thing about this series, and the reason that no matter what, while I do think I enjoy things that are between 6 and 10 a little bit better than I like number 5, I'll be honest, in just reading week to week, I have to admire and respect what they've built with Chronicles of Heavenly Demon, because we're now at a point where things have escalated so much that we've gone from a character that was just a child to a leader to someone that is basically destroying an empire in a way. And it's such a crazy quest when you think about it. It's accomplished something very rare in manhwa to make a story that compelling for that long. And while I am not as excited about it today as I was when he was still on that climb part of it, it's still an amazing manhwa that you should absolutely be checking out. At number 4, we have Nanom Machine. Nanom Machine used to be my number 1 or number 2 when it came to Murim Manhwa, because honestly, the whole gimmick of the Nanom Machines, as well as the interactions and revenge story that he's trying to get as the prince, like the prince that people tried to throw away because they didn't want him to inherit what might be his right. Honestly, he had no hope. He gets this power, and all of a sudden the story changes. Beautiful visuals, amazing fights, great character interactions between him and his subordinates. And you have this great adventure. But when that first arc finishes and he accomplishes his goal, I'll be honest, this year's chapters that have released do not hit as hard as they did last year. Like, the climb is often the fun part. And once you reach the pinnacle and now you have to make bigger stories, it suffers from the same thing as Chronicle of Heavenly Demon in a way, as the climb is often the most fun. That being said, I am enjoying the more recent chapters, though we're going into a harem-type area, which I'm not too hyped about. That being said, still a top-tier manhwa. At number 3 is the Breaker series. That's the Breaker New Waves, and the Breaker Eternal Force. This was my number 1 for the longest time, like all time. Breaker New Waves, favorite manhwa to read ever. The fights in it, the moment, if you've read the New Waves, I'm just going to call out a specific moment. There's a moment where our protagonist is at his end. He's going to lose against the ghost doctor. He's covered in blood. He's standing his position in extreme pain, and his whole clan is around him. And they all bow before him and swear eternal revenge if their leader perishes. And it is a moment that you're like, just chill-inducing with the way it's set up. And my god, would I love to see it in anime form. The original Breaker series, the first one, has an anime adaptation. New Waves was never adapted. And now Eternal Force is out, but I will say, Eternal Force is not as strong as the previous two, I'll call, seasons of this series. And because of that, unfortunately, it is one large story. It's kind of faltering for me. That being said, this might be a problem that this needs to be a binged series. Its week-to-week releases are just too slow and just feel like they're very disconnected from the characters with what's happening to them. Hopefully, once I finish this and I go back and I reread it a second time, it'll feel like, okay, it just needed to be read in one foul swoop. At number 2, we have Return of the Manhwa Sect, or Return of the Blossoming Blade. This is a manhwa that I think is loved by many people. Just, it's fun. Instead of having the typical restart story, you have a character that's thrown into the future. And he's reborn as a kid of a clan, well, a kid that tries to rejoin his clan, only to realize the clan he worked so hard to build up, the Manhwa Sect, is just not what it used to be. It's fallen in disrepair, people don't learn the skills that he learned back in the day, and it's become somewhat of a joke among the other areas of the Murim world, and that's unacceptable for him. So he's going to do what he can to elevate his clan, but the thing is, he's also this snarky, comedy-driven character that is both brutal, hilarious, has great interactions. He's an alcoholic. There's a lot going on in this series that make this series a lot of fun. And the most recent arcs have just been awesome. It just keeps building and building and building. Amazing, amazing stuff. At number 1, should be no shock, is Legend of the Northern Blade. If you know me, you know my love for this series. And in the Murim space, there is nothing better than Legend of the Northern Blade. Its art style, the visceral nature of its fights. If you watch the most recent chapters, it's insane, the art that's taking place right now and the combat that's happening. I will say I wasn't crazy about the twist of the villains and who's behind everything. I didn't find that great, to be perfectly honest. But that being said, the series still does a great job of making compelling characters, a protagonist you really want to root for, some amazing chill-inducing moments that really give you that hyped feeling for a manhwa. And honestly, there's not a lot of people like Jin Muon out there that can be both the quiet protagonist at the same time as having such deep rage as he screams from the top of the rafters, and you feel it inside of you. So honestly, a brilliant manhwa all around. You need to read if you're not reading it, but if you are, honestly, tell me what your best moment, favorite moment so far of Legend of Northern Blade has been down below. Once again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon.